wanted, obviously, I think we haven't done this before, is actually explaining about that we're also family men.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very easy to get very focused on the successes within the business, but lose sight of the fact that this isn't possible without the home life and without a super supporting wife. I mean, I know your wife's supporting. My wife's been amazing. With everything going on, focusing this heavily on business, definitely there's a cost, right?
Well, we spoke about this. I don't think, and if you don't take the plunge, and I think there's so many podcasts out there about CEOs and what they've done, but they don't actually talk about the hard bits that you have to do.
Yeah.
Now, for me, you can be as committed as you want, but there is also sacrifices. So whether that's all your money in, everything you've got, even the last pair of pants that you have to throw in the drawer and say, I'm going to wear that again, whatever type of thing it is. But it's getting to the point where you forget that the family around you end up having to sacrifice.
Yeah,
and believe in what we're doing.
There's a cost, right? And I think it's the bit that most people lose sight of when it comes to achieving success in anything, business, sports, whatever it might be. Everything comes at a cost, right? And if the only way you can ever achieve the level of success you want to achieve is you have to be willing to pay that price.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect. If you think about sport, how your old man or mine was stood on the sideline spending all those hours that they're not achieving, but they're doing it in relation to that other person achieving.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think if you actually look back at our successes, what we need to just remember is looking beside us and who's not stood on that stage and doing all of it. It's their sacrifices, and I have to say it's our family that have. Our wives aren't now working at the level that they are because they're having to look after the kids more because we're having to be in here, and that's something that we didn't make that decision. They helped make that decision for us, actually, both of us. Knowing that they believed in what we did, and that's why I also think we haven't failed because of knowing that we've got that backing. You need that.
I think that's it, and it's very. Look, don't get me wrong. At the beginning and the outset, when things aren't going well, when you're not making any money, when the stresses are immense, and when life's hard, and they're not seeing the benefits, but they see the work. Like anyone else, they would ask the question, going, "Is this the right thing? Is this the right move?" And I know your wife, and certainly my wife's been super supportive, and we've come through that, and now obviously, starting to reap the rewards and see the benefits, and the price that's being paid or is being paid is starting to reap the rewards, where you're going, okay, well, it's worth it. But as you say, without them, personally, I don't think I could have pushed this hard or done this much. No. Without my wife being as amazing as she's been. And I think that's the bit that people miss. When it comes to any successes is, who's in your corner, who's backing you, who's your cheerleader, who's the person going, look, you can do this. And when you're having those bad days and you're having those moments and you're going, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Who's that person going, look, you've come this far, just stick it out, you'll be okay.
No, well, again, the family is that we've ended up becoming brothers, and that's the way it is as well. And you have to have that point, and I know some of the team even go, is it mum and dad are fighting again type of thing? and you go, well, look, that inevitably is why it works, is you have to have a yin and a yang. And that doesn't mean that we're completely polar opposites, and I don't think that can happen.
No, I mean, the thing is, we're pulling in the same direction, and if you think, right, it's not always been easy. We've had some really, really rough times, had some really, tough decisions to make about, partnerships, tough decisions about payments, tough decisions about staff,
what to do next.
What to do next, how much money is being thrown in, how much time and effort. I mean, if you think how many hours we've put into these businesses over the past, 18 months since we
I agree.
Together.
It's the obsession of that we're both in it together on the same parallel paths. If we were obsessing about property and one of us was obsessing about teaching or X, Y, and Z, it wouldn't work. Our obsessions are aligned in the sense that what we really wanted to do was to make a difference within the PRS sector, that private rented sector within what we do. That prop tech, which hasn't really been done, we've worked for 2 or 3 ourselves and now own a prop tech, is that it hasn't had, I don't think, the right investment and the right thought process around what goes on. And then the next one is to actually build a legacy for property, whether it's for our families or for people that we deal with.
Most of within the industry, right?
Absolutely.
Just changing how things work. And I think that's the biggest thing is we spend so much time together that It's really interesting. Like, you know, always, and we talk about this a lot. We'll be in a meeting, we'll be having a conversation with somebody, explaining a point, but at the same time, there's an undertone of conversation where we're having a conversation together, and the other person is completely unaware because we're talking to them, and we're bouncing stuff of each other throughout this conversation.
It's because we're 4 steps ahead and actually having a mini conversation. We're having 3 conversations whilst having a meeting with someone and then learning what's going on at the same time because we don't have the time.
It's fascinating, and I think the fact that we're able to sort of weave in so well together, and at the same time know that we're both pulling in the same direction, and we're both putting everything on the line.
You know, for everybody as well to understand, it never goes 100% right.
No.
But I think the difference is that we've both understood and known that even though, and we said this yesterday in a meeting, is that when one of us will have to make a decision without the other, and actually that other person might have gone, oh, well, I really want to be part of that decision. You can't do that all the time. But you have to trust, and trust is a huge thing and we both trust with our feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, that if people ruin that trust, then that's it, done. You have a one chance. Because we've done that together all the way through and shown that means it's always aligned. Is that we never worry about it. Yes, some of us might have had better as a duo or whatever within a conversation, but we have so many things going on every day that you have to rely on others.
Well, this is it. I mean, time ultimately, and the amount of time that you have available in a day is your most valuable asset, right? And if we're sitting there trying to run each meeting together, it's not an efficient use of time. So at some point, you know, working in a partnership, you have to trust your partner to be able to make the decisions in the best interest of the business. And sometimes you might go, I don't agree with that, but at the same time, I'm fine with it because it's a decision you made and you have your...
I think that's something that we try to instill into the team is I'd rather people make decisions and ask forgiveness later.
Yeah.
Do something wrong, but at least you tried, we can figure it out. And I think that business owners, CEOs, everybody else, what's one of the hardest things is to relinquish where you know you could do it better, but asking someone else to do it, even if they're only going to do it at 50%.
Yeah.
But you need to do that because you can't grow.
Yep.
We've gone from being a startup to now a scale up to now actually organising things. Yep. So that's been one of the hardest things to learn.
Yeah,
is to bring someone in and teach them and go, you're never going to be as good as me, but I know I've got to let you just go and do it.
Yeah.
And be okay with that.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, I'm in my yesteryear, I was much more of a control freak than I am now. But at some point you get to a capacity level where you're going, I physically can't control everything. I have to trust the team around me to be able to do things. I have to trust the partnerships. I have to trust the relationships. And, you know, I'm a big believer in the mindset of just fail faster because all of your learnings come through mistakes. Right?
Yep.
And if everything's running swimmingly, 1, you're not pushing hard enough, and 2, you're not learning enough. So it becomes very much a game of just make more mistakes, just fail faster, learn faster, because the only way you're going to get to where you want to go quicker is by making more mistakes, by making those errors and learning the lessons that you need to learn.
Well, this is why we're yin and yang, because we say the same thing, but just in a different way. So you've said it that way. The way I look at this is how do you build wealth? And actually wealth is not a how much money you earn. It's a compression of time. So the more you earn in a quicker amount or shorter amount of time is what wealth is.
Yep.
It's that compression of earnability within a period. And you can't do that with the amount of hours and what you do on your own. And that's how we've then leveraged the partnerships that we do. We've now helped white labels and the businesses being able to leverage on other people's time and effort that they've already accomplished something or have do it better. Work in your lane, but then feed off that partnerships.
Yeah, play to each other's strengths. Right?
Exactly, and that's the way that actually people can utilize the tech and the businesses that we do to not fight against. You know, go with the stream, go with the current, and actually go, well, do you know what? Let me go with the same route and figure out what I can do to add to it to actually make my time valuable.
With that being said, I suppose we haven't really talked about, you know, what we do. Which
would help.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, we cover a wide range of different things, which I suppose that kind of adds to the complexity. But at the same time, I think that's the biggest value out of what we do, right?
I think it's about going back to what is the core, and we always need to realise what the core is. And I think the core of the My Property Group is how the marketplace to allow buyers and sellers, landlords and investors to find each other to make the right decisions to buy the right things that don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
But within that, how does it get enabled to, and why is that different from just walking out there and knocking on someone's door? Is the technology that sits behind that allows you to be able to access all of that. That in its entirety is the core business.
Yeah, it's, as you say, it's the marketplace. And I think, if we look at sort of what businesses you can relate this to, so other people can easily understand the business case. I mean, this, in my view, this is kind of like the Amazon of property, right? So, 90% of shopping that gets done is done online, and 90% of the shopping that gets done online is done on Amazon. And for me, I see ourselves as being in the position in the near future, as if we continue to do what we're doing, as being the place where 90% of property investment transactions will happen through either our marketplace or through one of the other white label partners, which is essentially a replica of the marketplace, but with their branding, their logo, their color scheme.
Yeah, it's an Amazon to an eBay to an X, but it's all the same products. And I think an Amazon way of it describing for a layman is the nicest way. It's on Amazon, you have their own products now, but you also are selling other people's products.
Exactly.
And that is what we do. We're a marketplace where it's our listings, it's what we're doing, but it's the partnerships through the white labels that are bringing stock to that platform to pile together a catalogue of more and more and more. When there's more options, you have more investors that are looking, and that's the growth factor.
Yeah, and then it's looking at, okay, well, how do we improve and enable this? Obviously, like Amazon's, they created their own delivery vehicles. They added additional things to simplify the journey. So they created simple checkout, payment transactions. So all of these additional services to enable the clients to get a more seamless journey. And in exactly the same way, what we've done is we built our own property management. So this is essential for property investors, property management. We partnered strategically with an unbelievable brokerage house, who've been excellent. We run many different facets and different products in terms of what we do. But the main aim, the main goal of this is, simply to enable an investor to get an easier experience and build their portfolio simpler, whether it be helping them with the legals, helping them with surveys, helping them with, valuations, helping them, like, what...
I think what you're saying as well is that once we've gone from the core, which is what we do, the partnerships that we create, which is that ability, is anybody within that industry that we do, whether it's financial advisors, lettings, management, lawyers, everybody works within that ecosystem, can come plug and play their own service into it. And I think that's what people don't see from the outside of it, is that if we've now dealt with refurb teams that are all over the country. We've got 40 refurb teams. We don't have that internally. We've got 4 or 5.
Yeah.
We partner with those because we know that they're worthwhile partnering with, because they're a known entity and they've done things. I think what's happened over the last year as well is, like Amazon, figuring out a product, understanding, can we do it better? Do we decide to bring that in-house or not, because we don't think it's well worth it? And again, we were saying earlier about what we're passionate about. I'm passionate not about making money, but doing what's right for the clients. And if we don't feel that those people are doing what's right by the client, we take it in-house, make it cost neutral, and do it and work it through. Yeah. So and that's the products we're talking about.
I think you touched on a very important point. So obviously, spending a lot of time with the sales team, and I spend a lot of time training the sales team in terms of the conversations. And the conversation with them is always, don't jump onto a call, don't jump on with a client looking at what you can get out of the meeting, because it'll never work. A client will feel that, number one. And number two, it's selfish. It doesn't work. People feel the selfishness. So every conversation that you go into with a client, it's all about, what can you do to add value to that client?
What can I do to help you?
Exactly. And if I can help you and I get paid a fee in return for that, bloody brilliant. Yeah. If I can help you, and even if I don't necessarily get paid a fee, I know that will come good in time, in some other service, in some other opportunity, in some other way in which we can work.
In the core, we're a service company. Yeah. What do we service? We service property and investors and that flow of money and the services that need to happen to make that investment right.
Exactly.
That's really, in a nutshell, what it is.
Yeah.
Within the PRS sector at the moment, obviously we might move into commercial and everything else, but reality is that once we've got the tech and those services and the products built together, you can throw anything into that model. Yeah. And I think that's the difference. Same as Amazon, is that they started off with books or whatever it is, and now I don't think they don't do anything. Yeah. We might need to talk to them about property.